name is Floyd Sorenson. I grew up in Brookfield, Wisconsin on D-Day, June 5th and June 6th. And on our ship, the only preparations we had to do was prepare more food because we knew we were going to get 80 infantrymen on there and they'd been on K rations. And our commissary, our few cooks in that, wanted to give them something that they probably haven't had for quite a while. And they prepared every meal and prepared something special for them. And when it came time to eat, we lined them up and they ate with us and we had a chance to talk to them. And we found out quickly that they were very experienced veterans, been through Africa, through Sicily, Italy, southern France, and that they really knew what they're getting into and really thought about it more seriously than any of us that had ever experienced it. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't actually know what the procedures would be and so forth, but they had been through it, but they didn't want to talk to us about it, and they were happy just reading and playing cards and waiting to go. On the morning of June 6th, about at 6 o'clock in the morning, our LST had gone across most of the channel. I'm losing my mind. But anyway, as we approached, it was amazing to see something like 14,000 ships all over in every direction you could look. Landing ships, ships carrying troops, ships carrying materials, ships carrying equipment that you can make a dock out of. Some of the ships were carrying materials that could help make a base hospital right on the beach. And the goal at that time for us in the LST was to be beached on the beach and to get rid of our load, the 1st Division, and I think we had 6 tanks on the tank deck. As we looked at what was happening on the beach, the noise was tremendous. You couldn't even imagine where it was coming from because there's so many different sounds. Bombers going over, fighter planes going over, battleships shooting 16-inch guns, cruisers shooting their guns, all of that going over the top of us. And we knew eventually we were going to get closer to the beach because we saw the troop ships having soldiers coming down the side on a rope ladder, going on the LST and heading toward the beach. As we got closer later on and could see what was going on, we knew that there was difficulty because the Germans were elevated. We didn't realize the beach we were going to go on. We had the problem with the large hills and rocks along the side that you had to go up across to get up to the Germans. We knew the Germans had pillboxes and bunkers up there and that the walls were supposed to be 3 foot wide and that the Army or the Navy battleships, 2 of them, which we had out in the harbor, with their 16-inch guns, were supposed to take care of getting those bunkers hit up there and make it possible for the people on the LCIs to get off at the beach. It didn't happen. Nothing happened to the bunkers. They were there all day long. We also had bombers supposed to come across and drop bombs on the beach, causing craters that would make it possible for the infantry to have some place to hide and have protection and attempt to shoot up at the Germans, but it wouldn't do any good because there was no Germans that you could see. They were behind, shooting through slits in the concrete. More and more chaos developed because everybody out in the harbor, including us, we wanted to get on the beach and we're waiting for orders to get on the beach. And the more troops they sent forward to the beach, the more troops couldn't get on the beach, got off the LCIs and thought they could walk on the beach, and encountered some of the obstacles that the Germans had placed on the beach: spears, concrete abutments, steel abutments, landmines, and so forth. And it was very easy. Where I was on our ship, I don't know why I did it, but I always had a pair of binoculars with me, and I was able to focus in pretty good on what was going up ahead there. And as I learned later on, a number of the LCIs, before they even got off the ship, were completely killed. And 40 people on the LCIs were killed, not counting those that got off some other LCIs and got on the beach. And nobody really got as far as to the hill that I can imagine. And if they did, what were they going to do? Finally, some of them regrouped and went across the other side of the hill, and step by step, by using ropes and that, they got up high enough where they could throw a couple of grenades in at those bunkers and probably did some damage. At the same time, we knew that the paratroopers were coming from behind, and what happened, eventually the paratroopers, we have to give credit for helping more than anybody else, because they destroyed those bunkers, and after that happened, it got much quieter on the beach. And by the time I got off the LST and on the beach, they were still firing down at us, but not with the velocity and the number that was being fired down before. And because there was that lull, you might say you wanted to get on the beach, and there was a lull of maybe 2.5 hours or so. As soon as that lull was over and the shooting ceased a little bit, everything started moving forward, and more troops got off the beach, and they were able to change where they landed and so forth. And when I got off our ship and went to beach, we were going to get the wounded and pick up the wounded and bring it back to our ship. And I immediately was stopped by 2 Army medics, and I said, over here, these 12 need immediately help. Take them first, and then come out and you can help us go around, and if somebody's waving, go over and see what they want and help them as much as you can. And then I looked over on the other side, and there were infantrymen taking the ones that were dead and putting them in body bags. And I would say probably 70, 100 body bags were lined up along. And that really brought it to me, because I started thinking about, where are they from? Are the loved ones going to find out shortly what happened to them? How long would it take it back to the States? And who's going to walk up to the front door and tell some mother that she's a Gold Star mother, and do all that is happening with those bodies? It was a big job. And the thing that made me feel good, they were treated decently and respected by the infantry, and they even had American flags stuck in the sand around where they laid. So if 2,000 people lost their lives, that's 2,000 people back home that are going to be shot to death, and their lives are going to be changed too, because it's either a husband or a brother or sister. So it was a very, very sad experience for me. And the ones I saw on the beach were quickly to say, hey, I'm okay, go take care of somebody else. And some were unconscious and they needed immediate help. Some had tourniquets on, and where they were stopping the bleeding, it was a stop of blood, had to have their bandages changed. So there was plenty to do. And we finally got about 100 on our ship. And each one of those we had to pick up off the beach and put on a litter and carry on the ship. But at that time, there was no immediately thing to hurry about, outside of the fact that we had people that needed medical attention, and we'd give first aid and tools as well as we could on the ship and off the ship. But we had to get them across the channel back to England so they'd be in a hospital. We didn't have to feed them. Some wanted water. We looked at some that were in pain on the ship, and we gave them shots of morphine and did as much as we could to make them comfortable going back across. From there, I made about 6 trips back and forth, taking the wounded back. One interesting trip, we had German prisoners of war, and the thing that raised me, not talking to, because I didn't speak German naturally, but they were either very old or kids 13, 14 years old, And we know that just to have them man some of the stuff inland, they put them at certain places where they could do menial work because they were not experienced infantrymen. But Germany was down at the bottom of the barrel at that time, and that was the best example I could give you of it. When we took the prisoners of war over and we brought food and stuff back, and then we take another group of prisoners of war because all of the people on the beach were already taken care of pretty much as could be after 2 or 3 days. And we saw that hospital going up and felt good because we knew anybody that was wounded going into Germany could be brought back to that base hospital, and the hospital people would follow them along to the Battle of Bulge and all the serious stuff they're going to face in the future.